Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I went to an open mic last night with a friend of mine. She wrote a couple poems and she thought that she might like to get on stage and share those poems for the sake of catharsis. And I wanted to support that, so we went. And she ended up not getting on stage, so we were just audience members. But quite a lot of people did get up because it was a 2-hour event, so there was a lot of poetry shared last night. All kinds of topics: AI, the environment, politics, religion, sexuality, child abuse, all kinds of things. And, poetry and art, that's a great way to explore uncomfortable, unconscious things and bring them to the surface and deal with them and alchemize them and turn them into something productive, something that might otherwise go out into the world unconsciously and reactively and cause problems. So I think everyone should find some sort of art form or way of dealing with and examining what's going on inside. So I'm glad that space exists. I'm glad that group of people exists, that they're coming together to do that kind of work. It's great. But some of what I heard in that space, I was just like, oh my God, I'm glad this is happening here and it's not out on the streets. Because this is, man, it hurts my heart that people actually feel this way about other people or themselves, But maybe through this event here, through the writing, through the sharing, maybe people will come to examine this more deeply and have a change of heart or a change of mind. So, but there was a poem that was shared about Charlie Kirk, and it was, from a perspective of someone who did not care for his political views, and that's okay. We're not all going to agree, right? We all see the world differently. But this man was assassinated, and there are a lot of people who have applauded that or celebrated that openly, and that's scary to me, that's where we are as a society, that we feel not ashamed to do that. It's not a good direction, but that's what was going on. This person was tearing him to shreds, and at the end he said, I can't go on because it's going to get too gory, and good riddance. That's okay. Now I'm glad that was said in a poem, yes, but I wonder why that person cannot see that he is playing right into the hand of the very beast that is looking to devour him and everyone else in this country. The beast that is feeding off of our negative energy, the beast that is turning us against one another and making your brother the problem, when really the problem is the elite overlords who are shaking up the jar of ants and making us all sting each other. So that was bothersome. But I feel like that is the responsible thing to do, is to take that energy into that space and deal with it artistically. So I applaud that. But then there was another poem all about the LGBTQIA community, the rainbow community, and this person was obviously very heavily identified with their sexuality and viewing the world through that lens, through their sexuality, and seeing themselves as set apart from normies, straight people, any person who's not in the rainbow community, which, let's face it, it's straight people. And it's strange to me that the rainbow is being used by this movement as a symbol of supposedly inclusivity, when really what it's doing is it's excluding straight people. I mean, straight people are a part of God's rainbow too. Life is full of diversity, expressed even within sexuality. Yes, straight people are a part of that diversity. It's another way of creating divisiveness and focusing on the ways in which we are different, which is exactly what the elite overlords, the government, the people controlling this whole thing, pulling the strings, that's what they want us to do. They want us to focus on our differences and think that anyone who is not within the identity group that we have put ourselves in is our enemy, or that we're a victim, or, so that one particularly, the LGBTQ thing, like going through life identifying as your sexuality, it really bothers me because, I'm like part of that group technically. I don't go through life, wearing rainbows and identifying as like, I'm a lesbian. Like, you can know everything about me by me telling you that. No, precisely for that reason, I don't go out of my way to tell anyone my sexuality, not because I'm ashamed of it, but because I don't want anyone making assumptions about me. I don't want to be stereotyped. And when you make that your identity, what you're doing is you're asking people to stereotype you, which doesn't usually work in your favor. Like, don't you want people to view you based on the contents of your character and your heart and your mind and the way you treat others and the way you move through the world? Like, that has nothing to do with your sexuality. Your sexuality is a very small component of who you are. So because I am technically a part of that group, that one really gets me. And I like that. I like true diversity. So that's why, like, I would never be interested in, like, I've had friends say to me that they want to live, like, in an all queer community. And I'm thinking, we live in a world full of diversity, and that's beautiful. Like, I like that. I don't want to be in a homogenous, I don't want to be surrounded by people who are only like me in a certain way, because then how do I grow? How do I learn? How am I challenged, And so I just, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to go back to that place, because it felt like, that was like a group of people who come together regularly, and that's great, but it was strange to me that people were applauding like vitriol and hate that was being aimed at a certain group of people, like conservative people, and that it was assumed that everybody in that space, simply because they were an artist, has the same political views or the same views on sexuality, or like there was this flavor of like, oh, we're all the same, and that makes me so uncomfortable. Groupthink, so yeah, I just wanted to share that. I don't know, it hit me today that I was thinking about it, like how ironic it really is, like the whole rainbow thing, like it being used as a symbol of inclusivity, when really what it is like you're excluding straight people. So yeah, and there's a whole host of other problems that arise because of like identifying solely with or viewing the world, or moving through your world, or wanting other people to see you and judge you based just on that. Like, and I've made other videos about that, but I just want to say, I do realize that there was a time and a place for going out of your way to stand up and say, I'm not ashamed to be this way, because there was a time where people were treated as less than very openly, and it was just okay. It was seen as okay to discriminate against people because of their sexuality. And I don't think that we live in a time like that anymore. I'm not saying that doesn't happen anywhere in the world, but what I'm saying is that I think that the Pride movement has devolved. It's turned into something that it was not intended to be. And because of that, what has happened is it's become a group where a lot of people who have perverse, nefarious leanings in the realm of sexuality have hitched their wagon onto that movement, because it's like, oh, well, we want to be inclusive. You can't be so inclusive that you have no morals. And like, being a lesbian woman, being a gay man is not synonymous with having no morals or being debaucherous. And I feel that this movement has become so inclusive that it lacks all discernment. And I don't want to be associated with that. That's not what the Pride movement started as. It started as I'm not ashamed to be who I am, and no one should be ashamed of their sexuality as long as it's not hurting anyone, right? But now there are people who have glommed onto this group who have certain ways of moving through the world with their sexuality that is harming other people. Groomers and pedophiles and people like that are trying to identify as being the same as a gay man or a lesbian woman. So I have to say all that. That's why I don't walk around with a rainbow flag, because I don't want people assuming that I identify with or am okay with any of that stuff, debauchery. I'm not. But I'm glad that the art exists and that we can explore these things through art.